Hey guys, and welcome to a first of a kind Geetsly's video where I'm not really going to be sticking to a script and we're going to be discussing things a little bit more. So as you would have been able to tell from the title, in today's video we're going to be taking a look at the Rex and Cody partnership versus the Neyo and Bakura partnership. So first have a look at the Rex and Cody friendship. They were friends throughout the entire Clone Wars up until Order 66 where they tragically parted ways. Prior to Order 66 though, they both fought in many battles together including Christosis, the Rishi Moon, Ryloth, Umbara, and there's too many to count. So yeah, they developed quite a unique bond throughout the Clone Wars. Neyo and Bakura on the other hand, they formed their friendship due to their personality types, and their personality types were a bit extreme. Neyo was, as many would know, was kind of dead inside, and Bakura was just extremely brutal and extremely tough due to his Mandalorian upbringing. Anyways, we're going to take a look at all four of these clones on an individual basis, and then we're going to sum it all up at the end. Basically, I'll come to a conclusion on who I think would win, and I'll give you guys the option to vote on who you think would win. And we'll come to a conclusion in probably the next videos that I'll be doing that kind of follow this format. Anyways, the first clone we're going to take an individual look at is Rex. So Rex, as we know, was a captain, and his rank is a little bit weird because he's a captain, yet he acts as a commander, but we're not going to get into that. And rather, we're going to take an in-depth look at Rex's skill set. So Rex, as we all know, was a veteran of the Republic and a veteran clone trooper. He participated in too many battles to count, and some of the more well-known ones would of course be the Battle of Umbara and the Battle of Geonosis. Umbara was a crazy battle, and Rex really highlighted many of his skills throughout the battle, and he just showed us how unique he was as a clone, how intelligent. So yeah, his intelligence and combat aptitude was highlighted throughout the campaign in Umbara, and we see him lead his troops to eventually kill the traitorous Pong Krell. So just adding on to Rex's intelligence and obvious combat aptitude, he was really good at close quarters combat, mainly due to his DC-17 pistols that we see him use all throughout the Clone Wars, just shooting up too many droids to count. I guess I should also mention that Rex was probably one of the most developed characters in the entire Clone Wars series, as he was the main featurette of the entire show. So that probably contributes a little bit to, if not my bias, your bias as well, as we just know so much about him and so much about his intelligence and combat prowess that all we can really think is that he was one of the best clones in the entire Grand Republic army. Other than this predetermined bias that many of us will probably have for Rex, albeit justified, he also had a shoulder pauldron that saved his life at least once throughout the Clone Wars. That one time was when he was shot in the chest in the midst of the Battle of Seleucami by two commando sniper droids. So that was probably one of the scariest moments for many of us, thinking that Rex had died, but luckily Kix was there to help him out. And yeah, luckily for Rex, he did survive, and he went on to disobey Order 66, which would further prove his intelligence, as only the smartest of clones were able to realize that they had inhibitor chips in their brain and actively take it out. In my opinion, Wolf, Rex were probably two of the smartest clones in the entire Grand Army of the Republic. Gregor, I think he just had some minor brain damage. But this is beside the point, so we're going to sum up Rex into a nice little package. He was probably one of the most intelligent clones in the entire Republic army. He also had an extreme aptitude for combat, and was a very unorthodox yet efficient fighter who was extremely good at close quarters combat because of his DC-17 pistols. And as we stated before, he had a shoulder pauldron that did save him a couple times, so this could contribute to the fight in a positive way for Rex and Cody. So this now seems like a good point to move on to the clone who will be fighting with Rex against Neyo and Bacara. The clone I'm talking about, of course, is Cody, who was another very experienced clone, even more so than Rex. So when compared to Rex, Cody was a very rigid and no-nonsense commander. He expected the very best out of his men and fought in a very traditional way, unlike Rex, who always encouraged his men to fight in unorthodox and abstract ways in order to achieve victory. Despite these vast differences, however, their friendship continued to grow throughout the Clone Wars, and they became very close friends despite how different their personalities actually were. This led them to become the ultimate dynamic duo, with both of them tearing up the battlefield with their respective legions. Anyways, onto the individual attributes of Cody. So we know that he was very experienced, but unlike Rex, Cody preferred the standard DC-15A blaster rifle, which was better at long range. This long range advantage that Cody possessed would inevitably help Rex and Cody in their plight against Bakura and Neyo, as Rex, as stated before, wasn't too good at long range because of his DC-17 blaster pistols, which naturally weren't as accurate as the DC-15As that Cody possessed. Another point that should be noted is that Cody used a jetpack throughout a lot of his battles, and this would serve as a really powerful force multiplier against Neyo and Bakura, as if they were just getting blaster bolts firing upon them from above and Rex down from the bottom getting in close, they wouldn't really stand a chance. But there are of course other variables that we have to take into consideration, and we can't just jump to conclusions. Another point that I really should add, which will probably be my final point on Cody, is that unlike Rex, Cody was more of the tactician. And although he was very efficient in close quarters combat, Cody would usually rely on Rex to do most of the dirty work, as Rex was known for his bravery and renowned for his combat skills. So now that we've learned about our favorite Clone Wars duo, what about the other two? The other two that had really negative personalities, with Bakura being extremely brutal and Neyo being extremely depressed. If you want to learn more about these two, you can look at my Clone Commander profile videos where I describe them in depth. Due to these unique personality traits, Bakura and Neyo became fast friends throughout the Clone Wars, almost immediately hitting it off after meeting at Alpha 17's experimental training program. Although they both shared an innate love for vehicles and tactics, Neyo was the more passionate of the two, and as a result was probably the weakest of the four, preferring strategy and vehicular missions to actual combat. Neyo was also probably the most heartless of the four, and although Bakura is also seen as heartless, he wasn't as bad as Neyo, as Bakura actually felt something when he killed his Jedi General Ki-Adi-Mundi. Neyo on the other hand was completely emotionless, and his happiest moment was probably killing his Jedi General Stas Ali. Anyways, this is beside the point, so let's get back to business. Neyo, to compensate for his lackluster combat skills, needed long-range skills, and due to him being in the Reconnaissance Corps, he had some. So luckily for Bakura, Neyo wasn't completely useless after all, and could potentially help in a fight. Anyways, onto probably one of the most tough clone commanders in the entire Grand Republic army, we're going to take a look at the individual attributes of Bakura. Bakura on the other hand was trained in a very unorthodox way, which although made him extremely tough, also isolated him from the rest of his clone brothers, which is why he gravitated to Neyo so quickly. As a result of his training, Bakura was a very efficient fighter and a disciplined soldier. He expected the best from his men and was a step above Cody when it came to rigid command structures. Also, due to him being part of the Galactic Marines, Bakura was given experimental strength enhancing armor, and carried both a DC-15S blaster carbine and a standard DC-15A rifle. Bakura's skills were best demonstrated at the Battle of New Bornolix, where the weapon systems on all the soldiers had failed, and they were forced to fight B-2 battle droids with their bare hands. Although it was a suicidal mission, Bakura ordered his men to push through. And after hundreds of casualties, the Galactic Marines somehow prevailed, marking them as one of the most fierce clone corps in the entire Republic army, with Bakura of course being the leader. This would of course make it a very tough fight for Rex and Cody no matter what the distance. So now, after analysing all four clones on an individual basis, we're gonna have to come to a conclusion on who wins the 2 vs 2. In order to do this, we're gonna have to take into account two main variables, that being short range combat and long range combat, and assume Cody, Rex, Bakura and Neyo were put in these positions. So for the short range, in my opinion, Cody and Rex would have to take the cake. This is due to both Cody and Rex being extremely proficient in close range combat, with Rex having his DC-17 pistols and Cody just being good at unarmed combat. Although we know Bakura is an amazing fighter and extremely tough, he still wouldn't be able to carry Neyo, who just wasn't quite the fighter. It would admittedly be extremely tough to get Bakura down and out for the count, but in my opinion, Rex and Cody still ultimately win this one. So now we have to take a look at long range fighting. As stated before, long range fighting wasn't exactly Rex's forte, as his DC-17 pistols wouldn't be able to do the same damage from a longer distance. Neyo's only combat strong point is from a distance, which would lead me to say Bakura and Neyo would win the long distance fight. Although Cody did also have a DC-15A which could fire from a long range, he was merely proficient at it, and he wasn't as good as Neyo when it came to firing the long shots. In addition to this, if Cody did try to use his jetpack to get some leverage, Neyo would likely shoot it down due to his marksmanship skills. Although once again being a relatively tough fight, Neyo and Bakura would have to take the cake for this one, thus leaving the score all tied up. All in all however, I still believe Rex and Cody were the stronger duo. My reasoning behind this is that both Rex and Cody were extremely experienced soldiers and could adapt to a multitude of situations and environments, something that Bakura and Neyo just couldn't do. Although Bacara and Neyo were also excellent soldiers, they just simply didn't have the skill set that Cody and Rex did, and didn't have the abstract thinking skills that Rex in particular had. This leads me to the conclusion that although Neyo and Bakura could win in certain situations such as long range, in most cases of 2 vs 2 combat, Rex and Cody would be able to better adapt to the environment they are placed in, thus simply outmatching Neyo and Bakura overall. This of course is only my opinion, and if you don't like it, you can change it with your vote on this week's straw poll. As always guys, thanks for watching, tell me what you think about this new format, and don't forget to check out the wider intergalactic community on our website, Discord, and Instagram. I hope to see you all in the next video.